So today we are going to be going over Altos market reports. Jessica is actually our, let me go to this slide here, our Altos rock star. We're super grateful for her, but we're going to go over Altos research. She's going to kind of take the first part of the class and really dive in on how to use the system and just analyze the data. And you know, Altos Research is the #1 market data company for agents in title and escrow. So we're super happy to have her with us today. And then also for the second half, I will go over 7 ways that you can use this in your marketing. So not only how to read the data, but also how do you implement it in there? What creative ways can you take these beautiful visuals that they have laid out for you and all the verbiage and data that's available. So super excited for that. Make sure. Perfect. Yep. So just somebody messaged me about the QR code. The QR code was actually for this class, so my apologies there. I will make sure everyone that has attended today gets the invite for next week. So you can't rely on technology all the time. So my apologies for that, but I will make sure everyone gets that invite. Cool. So I will admit them. And Jessica, without further ado.
Well, welcome. I really appreciate everybody setting aside the time today to learn a little bit more about Altos Research and the reports. I'm going to go ahead and dive in. I'm going to share my screen. And do you want to continue? Yes. Desktop. Okay. What you should see, and I'm going to hide all the beautiful faces just so I don't get so distracted, but all right. So Justin, just so you know, I'm going to make mention of a couple of resources that are really awesome. And Justin, I'm going to send links to these resources to you, and you can go ahead and distribute it to your team, if that sounds okay. One of which is the How to Use Market Data to Build Your Real Estate Business. It's our ebook. It's our latest and greatest. And I promise you, no, I'm not biased, but it's not a snooze fest. It's 42 pages. And it's kind of going to go through what we talk a little bit about today, but even in more detail. It's going to go through, you know, what questions do you need to be able to answer, right? How to navigate the markets, the report itself, the key statistics to watch. And this, again, is going to reiterate what we talk about today. So you don't have to feel like you have to memorize or take a bunch of notes, because if you sign up to get this ebook, it's really a helpful tool to guide you through the different things to keep an eye on. It also has a whole section of various questions that clients will have, and how can you use the reports to answer some of those questions. Okay, so I definitely recommend signing up to receive this ebook. It's free. I always recommend that you print it out. I'm still like to print things out and like use my highlighter and all that great stuff. So I do recommend that you take a look at this. Okay, so that's the first thing I like to talk about. The second thing is let's get a little bit of background about Altos Research, right? What is it that we want to be able to do and provide? And so our goal as a data company is to answer the question, how's the market today? And, you know, I say that, and I'll say it over and over again, is answering the question, how's the market today? What does that really mean? Because there are plenty of market reports out there, right? And what makes us unique? Well, our uniqueness is that we are forward thinking. And today, in today's world, that's what you really need more than ever, right? The ability to look forward. I'm sure either it's yourself or your clients are kind of freaking out, right? They're a little stressed out about what's going to happen as we move forward, given all the things that are happening in the world. And it's been a crazy couple of years, right? We had COVID hit, the market was going to crash, right? Well, that didn't happen. The market took off, inventory dropped. At what point is the shoe going to drop? I live in the Bay Area, And we asked that question for years. How long are people willing to spend so much on such a small amount of square footage, right? At what point is enough enough? Most of the market reports out there are a summary of what's already happened. Many of you might be used to looking at sold data, and that's a very important component. However, that's answering the question, how was the market when the property sold versus how's the market today, and what can we expect moving forward? What kind of key indicators can we keep an eye on to see if we are going to start seeing a shift in the market? Okay, so our number one goal is, again, to be a forward-thinking report focusing on answering the question, how's the market today? Okay, so if we go ahead and take a look at one of these reports, some of you might be familiar with them. Maybe you haven't quite looked at them quite yet. That's okay. Maybe you're getting them via email. And if you haven't yet, I definitely recommend reaching out to Justin or your rep to go ahead and be set up to receive these reports. They are extremely valuable, and I hope by the end of this session, you'll be excited to incorporate it into your business. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty, it's well laid out, but there is a reason why we laid it out the way that we did. Our second goal is to take that complex data and put it into an easy to understand format. That is critical. I laugh because I've been working with Altos for 12 years. I'm in this stuff day in and day out, right? Great. I still am a homeowner and I get these market reports all the time. And honestly, I usually can't make heads or tails of it. What are you trying to tell me based on the information that you're providing? I've seen spreadsheets, I've seen weird charts, whatever, right? The nice thing about these reports is that it's going to cater to all different types of clients. You're going to have the engineers, right? They're all about the numbers that are being presented. Show me the numbers, right? Even though I work with the data, I'm still very much a visual person. I appreciate the visual cues throughout the report, okay? Then you're going to have people, I sadly always throw my mom under the bus, but I say, hey, if I were to show this report to my mom, she'd be like, just tell me like it is. This is far too confusing for me. I don't want to look at it. We have content that talks specifically about what's happening here within the real-time market profile. So there's something for everyone. And so if you personally aren't 100% on data, like liking the data or like looking at data, but you've got an engineer, you want to be able to support those folks just as much as anybody else. And this is going to give you that leg up. This is going to be helpful for you with communicating to your clients, keeping them informed throughout the entire process. That is what's going to build up that relationship and have a really great outcome, right? A lot of business comes from referral. And if you can keep your clients in the know, they're going to remember you and refer you. So looking at the report, you will see here, you've got this search function, which we'll come back to, but you've got this summary of sorts here. Okay. And I'm going to give you some insights as to, what can you point out to clients, right? What can you do to help engage people into looking at the report? It's a pretty report, right? But how can you send this to your reports or send this to your clients and have them really be engaged in it, right? So let's take a look at the different statistics, but we'll look at how it's laid out. There are a few key things to take into consideration when looking at the report. It's not going to match your MLS, okay? The reason is that we focus on the 100% active market. So everything's around this inventory number. This inventory number is excluding pending and contingent. All of the data that we present is based on list, and it's directly related to this particular number here. Remember that it's the 100% active, therefore excluding pending and contingent. It's also segregated into single family homes, and you'll see the tab here, and condo townhouses. What's great is that you can click on condos and everything updates for condo townhouses, and everything on this report is associated with the number here for inventory. Okay, so the default is the single family house, but you can look at condo townhouses as well. Okay, so that's probably the number one. Number one is active inventory. The second thing is we remove all pending and contingent. The third thing is that we update these reports weekly so that you're always in the know of the latest and the greatest. Okay, we update these weekly with a stop capture on Friday. That's important, at least to me, because the numbers that are presented here are as of Friday, last Friday. So if you think about how we process this, we stop capture Friday, we process that data over the weekend and publish on Sunday afternoon. Now, what's great is if this is the first time you're looking at this report, the number presented here is our latest, and then you can go ahead and look at this spark line that gives you 13 weeks to look back. That is great because most people are going to say, well, how does this compare to last month? Well, let's take a look, right? And then the month before that was really great looking at Scottsdale citywide is that this is pretty consistent all the way back to mid-January. Okay, great. Now we're looking at Scottsdale, Arizona, and we provide reports at citywide, which will take into account all active inventory within Scottsdale for every zip code. You can also dive in deeper and look at a specific zip code within Scottsdale because every zip code within a city can behave differently. You've got Phoenix, right? Phoenix has a ton of zip codes. I live in San Jose and Los Gatos, there's a ton of zip codes. If someone were to ask me, how's the market in San Francisco? I'm going to say, well, what part? Again, because every area behaves differently in the market. But there's nothing wrong with going broad and then narrowing it down. So if you're working with a buyer, for example, in Scottsdale, look at it citywide, find out what areas they're most interested in, and then create a report using the search function or asking Justin for the specific zip codes that they're interested in so that they can see how that might differ from zip code to zip code. Okay. So again, citywide and zip code specific. So our median list price, pretty straightforward. Okay. This is taking into account the 266. So what is median price of new listings? Remember, we capture week after week. So this here will only represent the newest listings that came onto the market since our previous capture. What is the median of that set? Okay, and that's what this represents. So the new inventory coming onto the market, what's the median of that, right? And here it is. The price per square foot, pretty straightforward, we're familiar with that. But now we've got a story to tell between the average days on market and the median days on market. So this is really great just to create conversation. Average days on market is something that's been the go-to for years. And actually with our Altos reports, this is all that we used to supply until the market went crazy and inventory dropped. And we found that no matter where we looked, right? All the different states actually, no matter where we looked, there were always stale pieces of inventory, right? And when you have stale pieces of inventory, the days on market starts to tick up, and then the number doesn't truly reflect what's currently happening in the market, right? So if we just stuck with the 57, that's really not accurate enough to really show what's happening in the market, given how hot the market is. So what we did is we incorporated our median days on market, just like we have median list price versus average list price. Median days on market does a better job of really representing what's currently happening in the market. And when you have a gap between the two, you can talk about the fact that, yeah, you know, currently we have really low inventory. However, there are those 1 or 2 pieces of inventory that are sitting around because nobody really wants them, right? And that's how you can have a conversation around these numbers here. Because if you've got a client who is constantly looking at the average days on market, this will be provide some clarity moving forward. Okay. All right. So the next thing I'm going to talk about are a couple of indicators about how you can overcome anxiety about what's going on in the market. So one of the things you can use these reports for is to have that leg up to help supply the information to your clients to alleviate some of that anxiety. We've never been in a pandemic before, but we've been in a market crash. And so what have we learned from our experience? there are two key indicators to keep an eye on within this report. One is price decreased. So these percentages here have to do with, again, the 266 pieces of inventory. So of the 266 pieces of inventory, 18% has had to take some sort of price reduction since being put on the market. Now, 18%, well, what does that mean? Well, 35% is considered the industry standard, normal, right? Neutral. 35% and you're 18%. So that's looking pretty good. And in fact, if you look over the last 3 months, it was up at 27 and now at 18. So things are looking pretty good. Now, keep an eye on this percentage. If this were to start to climb, get up to 45, 50%, we're going to start seeing a weakening in the market. So imagine having that conversation with somebody who has that type of anxiety. How can you help them overcome it? You show them the data and you say, hey, keep an eye on this report. I want you to keep an eye on this price decreased. Right now it's 18%. That's great. Let's keep an eye. If this starts to climb, gets to 40%, even if it gets to 35, hey, let's come back together and talk about the market. Okay. Now, I'm going to flip it for a second because this statistic really works well when dealing with sellers. So when you're dealing with sellers, one of the more difficult conversations to have, and although it's not happening as much as it has in the past, is having to take a price reduction. You want to keep your sellers engaged and informed about what's happening in the market as you go through that whole process. It's going to build trust, but also it's going to remove a lot of the finger pointing. So if you didn't have a report and you said, hey, we're going to list your house at X, right? And then one day you go knock on the door and you say, oh, the market's indicating that we need to take a price reduction. Well, that statement alone, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing, a lot of emotion associated to that. And so to avoid it, you say, hey, listen, this report is really great with keeping us engaged and understanding the market. I'm going to supply this report to you on a regular basis. I want you to keep an eye on this percentage. We want this to stay the same or go down. If this were to continue to climb over time, we may have to come back together and talk about the price of your home. By setting it up in that way, you are now empowering your seller to better understand the process. So there won't be that shock and awe moment or finger pointing if and when that time comes. Okay. So this statistic can be a really great tool to use and definitely something worth mentioning when you're talking to your clients. Okay. Now, the other key indicator of maybe seeing a shift in the market is the relisted. So understand what relisted is for us, Altos. Relisted for us is anything that comes back on the market. When, for example, if it goes pending, that's considered absorbed for us. So if it goes pending, falls out of escrow, boom, it's relisted. Expires, comes back on the market, relisted. Okay, change agents, relisted. So this relisted number is important to keep an eye on. Anything less than 10% is the norm. So the percentage isn't as important as it is the steepness of the climb. And so my example all the time is in 2008, San Jose, California went from 5% to 35% relisted in 2 months. This is a 3-month view. Can you imagine what that chart would have looked like in 2008? That's something that we're looking for. So what you do when you're talking to a client is say, hey, keep an eye on this percentage, right? If you notice that this starts to tick up at a rapid rate, let's come back together and talk about the market, right? That's how you set that up. So those two indicators can really help with alleviating some of the anxiety and giving them the leg up to better understand the market and be in the know. That's what we all want. We all want to be in the know before everybody else, right? I'm going to predict if we're going to have a crash, whatever the case might be. But this can really be helpful as you're moving through the process with your buyer or your seller. Okay. All right. So again, you've got your price decreased, you've got your relisted, and you've got your inventory. So looking at inventory at 266, 3 months ago, it was low at 332, right? And it continued to drop. Now, the good news is it looks like it's starting to tick back up. There's lots of buyer fatigue out there, right? And this is citywide. So if we go look at a zip code specific report, I suspect that we're going to see very low inventory levels, right? So this is great to look at as well, but I will share with you down below in the report, one of the charts that's super helpful to utilize when you're having conversations with your clients. Median rent for those investors. And then lastly, we've got our market action index. This is our own proprietary algorithm. It's just answering the question, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? And actually, this algorithm was what we started out with at Altos. We didn't have the market reports. We just wanted to be able to make that declaration. And so what we did is we sought out a data team. We said, hey, this is the question we want to answer. They took a series of supply and demand statistics, put them in an equation, a pretty bow, with a weighted end result. We learned that 30 being that weight didn't favor the buyer or the seller. You'll see the white line within my fancy image here. Anything greater than 30 falls into the seller's market. Anything less than 30 goes into the buyer's market. I love this image because it's like a speedometer, right? The higher the ticker, the hotter the market. The color, it might be harder for you to see, but this first ring here represents right now. This gray one represents a running 30 days back. So what this allows you to see is that this ticker is here, but the gray doesn't quite hit the ticker. Therefore, it is hotter this month than it was the same time last month. Okay, great. Again, my engineers need to see the number. My mom just needs to read a little bit about it. And then I like to see my speedometer. So a little bit of everything for everyone. So great. Right here is a great summary of sorts. And some people will stay right here, and that's just fine. But there is more that make up this report that allows you to tell a story if you feel inclined to do so. And if you don't, it's still great to share with your clients to say, here's what's possible. So if we scroll down, you will see a center larger chart. We have 3 years of data noted here, okay? We're looking at median list price over the last 3 years, where we update the reports every week over that 3 years. Therefore, that dotted line is pretty darn noisy, right? That's a lot of time. So what we did is after we have this 7-day, we have now a 90-day, which is that 13 weeks averaged out to create a nice smooth line. That is what we call our trend. And so what I would encourage you to do is make mention that you can deselect the noise and focus on just the trend. You guys are basically neck and neck from this year, from last year. Okay, so here's where y'all are right now. And this is where you guys were the same time last year. And then here's where you guys were the same time in 2020. Look at this growth, right? You saw a drop off and then some more. Right now, the trend is indicating that prices are continuing to rise. So what's the point of the 7-day? The 7-day provides the leading indicators of change. The 7-day shows you what's happening now prior to the trend being able to kick in. And that's where this information shines. So if we click on that 7-day, notice prices are not continuing to rise. What's happening is it's starting to level out. So the trend is going to start to kick in where it's going to start to level. But we predicted that based on what's happening here in that 7-day, which is awesome. Okay, so that's something that you can present to your clients as well. This is how you tell a story. Now, if you felt, hey, you know what, 3 years is too long, then you can come down to the timeline down below, hold down your mouse, drag it back, and go back 1 year. And you can keep going back, whatever you want, but you can zoom in and just follow this week after week and just look at what's happening here with the trend. So are we going to take it back up to this height? Nope, it looks like we're going to start leveling out. Okay, great. Then you can reset your zoom. So those are things that are possible using the chart. Now, you're not stuck with just median list price because that's not the end all. one of the key ones to look at, particularly over the last 3 years, is inventory. Because inventory has been taking a nosedive since May of 2019. Okay, so here we are, 2019 at 2,300. I'm just going to round it, 2,300 versus what's available now, 266. When you put it in perspective, that is crazy. So when you're talking to buyers and you're saying, hey, there's really just not a lot available, what does that really mean to them, right? We don't use the word inventory so much out and about, right, with buyers and sellers and etc. And how can you differentiate yourself from being pushy? Well, the market's super hot right now. There's really nothing available, so you've got to act now. So do you think it's more impactful to just say that, or to back up what you already know with data, a visual, where you can actually say, hey, listen, I know we keep talking about the fact that there's nothing really available. There's not a lot of inventory, but I don't know if it's clear enough. I want to share with you that just a couple of years ago, we had a couple of thousand versus a couple of hundred. And that will really open their eyes to better understand where the market really is when it comes to the inventory. I just think that that's super helpful. And again, you can turn off the noise where you can see here that it's starting to level out. It's not continuing to drop. So before we click on the 7-day, is inventory taking a turn up? Or is it being more consistent, or is it dropping, right? So you turn it on, you can zoom in, and it looks like it's kind of just consistent, maybe ticking up. If you need to zoom in, you can, and voila. All right, here's a clearer picture. Continuing to drop, and then it leveled, and now we're starting to see an uptick in inventory. Okay, maybe it's not huge uptick, but anything helps. So this is how you can go ahead and tell those different stories based on what client you're talking to, right? So reset the Zoom. So you've got all of these different statistics that you can utilize and do what we just did, which is deselect, select, zoom in, right? Now take it one step further. Right now, this is taking into account all active inventory, right? You'll see we've got our 90-day average and our 7-day. The 7-day is the latest and the greatest, is what we see here. The 90-day is the trend. So we have our median price. Well, okay, so median price is 1.7, let's say. Okay, so if I look at the median price, what about your buyers who are on a budget that, 1.7 isn't quite within their budget? Does that mean they can't live in Scottsdale? And how do you communicate about the market in their particular price range? Or what if you're dealing with the luxury market and that's really not a clear indicator of the luxury market within Scottsdale? We have something called market segments. Market segments is where we take the active inventory, we list it from most expensive to least expensive, and then divide it into 4 equal segments. So each one of these lines has the same amount of inventory, and then we determine the median. So the median of the most expensive 25% of properties is actually 5 million, which is far different than the 1.7, right? In fact, the least expensive 25% is 740, which is far different than the 1.7, right? This allows you to dive in a little bit deeper. The blue line will always represent the most expensive 25% of properties, just like the red will always represent the least expensive 25% of properties. Okay, great. Dealing with the luxury market, maybe that's who your clients are. Great. Well, deselect the noise of everything else. Here's how the market's behaving in the top 25% most expensive inventory. Okay, here's where y'all were last year, and this is where you're at now. Pretty interesting, right? When you look at the overall inventory, it's kind of a little bit lower than it was last year. Now you can go up and you can change this, right? You can go ahead and look at the median days on market for that particular segment of inventory, which is 100 days. And then you can come in and say, okay, well, I want to rerun that algorithm. Is the top 25% most expensive inventory in a seller's market too? We run the algorithm and the number itself is 45. Okay, yeah, well, that's greater than 30. Is it quite as hot as 82? No, but how does this compare with the least expensive 25% of properties. That is up at 95, super high in comparison to that top 25%. Not unheard of, right? Price point. But this allows you to cater to your different clients. If you've got a client who has a budget, what can they expect for their money, right? If you look at median list price, great. And then what is the median days on market? Well, that one's going to be a little bit different. It's at 19 versus 100. Okay, and this is the trend. So this can be super helpful based on per client. Now, what if you have a seller and you're doing an open house? You can really utilize these reports at your open house because you can talk about the nature of the market for Scottsdale, better yet, do the zip code, and then dive into the segment and talk about the nature of the market for that home versus the city or zip code. And that's super impactful because you're not necessarily going to find your buyer at your open house, but potentially your next seller. So if you're able to share with them down here what they can expect for their home and how quickly they could potentially sell their home by showing them data versus just making mention, that's really going to put you 10 steps ahead. Okay, so again, right now you've got your chart here where you can go ahead and break it down into different market segments. You can go ahead and look at it as a whole. You can zoom in. Okay, so lots that you can do here. And don't forget the deselecting of the 7-day and selecting. It's a great segue into our market segments table where above was the trend. This is the latest and based on that 266. So the median is 4.9 and 800, right? What is great about this, again, think about it for your open houses. If you've got a client who falls and says, hey, you know what? The max I can spend is 800,000. Is there anything available to me within in Scottsdale? And what can I expect for my money? Well, you can expect roughly 1,900 square feet, maybe 2,000, a smaller lot size compared to others, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a 32-year-old home. But by the way, the days on market for that segment is less than a week. So you have to have all your ducks in a row. And if you want to play the game, you're going to have to put in an offer. In fact, you're probably going to have to know somebody who's putting something on the market before they actually do, because that's how quick inventory is moving in that particular segment. It is so helpful to back up what you already know. This is probably not rocket science for you guys. You know what's happening in the market, but it's so nice to have data that backs you up. So think about the open house. You've got this great report. Okay, this is an online report, but did you know that you can convert it to a PDF so that you can print it? And I would recommend that you print that single page PDF and find out what segment that open house falls within. Print out, I don't know, 20 copies, for example. Take a highlighter, highlight that segment. So now that you can have a conversation about the nature of the market for that particular house versus the city, you attach your business card to it so that you've got the third-party report, you've got your contact information, you've got this great knowledgeable report, and you say, hey, listen, I'd love to be able to supply this report to you on a weekly basis. What do you think? Right? So how do you do that? So how do you go about taking this offline? You're going to go up to share and you're going to select single page PDF. Dun, 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 dun. This is your printable report. Attach your business card up here. You've got this nice printout, and again, take your highlighter, highlight, okay? Print it out. So neighborhood walks, open houses, farming, direct mail even these days. These are really great reports. A single page is all you need. But what about listing presentations or onboarding new buyers? You might want to bring out the big guns, in which case you can take this offline. Go to share, click on full report PDF. And you will have 6 pages, one of which you can choose to utilize or not. This one here is a cover sheet. Okay, you can choose to omit it or keep it. Attach your business card. Again, you've got a data page. Then you've got all of those charts that are extracted from the online version. where we also supply content that talks about what the heck the chart is trying to say, which is super helpful because it means you can leave it behind and feel confident that your clients are going to get what they need from the report. So 2 different physical reports that you can utilize in addition to the online version of the report. So it's really great to be able to leverage all of those different areas. Each one of the reports that you receive has its own unique URL. So you can copy this, paste it in an email, send it off to your clients. If that's how you choose to share it, that's fine, okay? You've got this great search functionality. So what if you're sitting with your client, you're talking about Scottsdale, and then they say, well, what about zip code such and such? Okay, so we go ahead and hit search, and then here are all the zip codes. Now, mind you, I'm not well versed in this, but let's say we want to go Old Town. Nope, that's a whole city. We'll click on this one. Now notice the inventory drop. This is what kills me. The inventory is now 5. The greater the number here, the easier it is to read the report, just so you know. Like everything, the greater the data set, the more useful that report is. But you can still utilize the report just fine, but you'll just find that it's super noisy, okay? But do a search, great. Add it to what you receive by clicking subscribe. Send off a note to Justin or whomever your rep is, awesome. Okay, so that's something that you can do as well. Now, share social media. So social media is awesome too. Chances are you have a business page and you've got to have content for that business page. Facebook is pretty aggressive about that. So this is really well received on Facebook. So all you have to do is select Facebook and you say, okay, do I want this as my active image within my post, my profile? Great. Or you know what? The market action index is really vibrant and it's pretty straightforward that it's a seller's market. Click share and it's going to pull up my Facebook because I'm on my computer. I can choose to post it on my personal page or a page I manage, which would be your business page. So Altos and then Lucky Real Estate. Your post here is your call to action. Now that we're, in the middle of spring already, which is crazy, it's a strong seller's market in Scottsdale. Be sure to click the image below to view the full version of the report. If you have any questions, drop me a note, right? And whatever, get some activity going. But this is where you place your call to action because it's not something you want to assume they're going to know to click on the image to view the full version of the report. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful there. All right, so now you've got all of those different possibilities, the search function, you've got all of the different statistics. Now, in addition to that ebook, we also have this Altos report explainer. I use lots of words. This is a high-level view of the different components that make up the report itself. So this is another resource that I can supply to Justin to go ahead and distribute to your team. This is a great tool because in addition to that high-level overview is a list of all of the statistics, the definition, and why it matters to keep an eye on it. This is something that's great for you because, of course, the terms might be a little bit different, right? But it's also great to share with your clients so that they can go ahead and get more information when they need it. Not everybody likes to ask questions because they feel like they should know what it all means, and that's not the case. So supply the report explainer along with the report, and it's a really powerful tool for you and for your buyers and sellers. All right. All right. So hopefully you found that helpful. I hope that you're really excited about the potential of incorporating this into your business. Justin, does anybody have questions? How do we want to handle those questions?
Yeah, we have a couple questions in the chat box. If you guys have questions for Jessica, please just shoot them in the chat box and I can read them to her. We do have one. Is there a spot where it would show UCB or pending?
Not yet, and that's a great question. So we are capturing and have been for quite some time now, the pending data. We will be adding it to our real-time market profile. We're just trying to find the best way to do it without causing a bunch of questions, right? So that's a very delicate dance, but yes, that will be something that we'll be incorporating. Just
Awesome.
not yet.
Cool. That's great news. And then we have a question about more of the agent branding. This is a tool sponsored by Rock Title for you guys. But there's no way, is there a way for them to do their own branding? And Mom, just so you know, I am the second part of this going to go over ways that you can incorporate this in your marketing so it shows your branding more. But Jessica, do you want to speak on that?
Yeah. So this is a resource being provided to you by Rock Title. If you want to have your own branding, it's more than just your own branding. It's the branding, having your own set of reports, also adding contacts, distributing it via an email, right? There's a whole system behind it, and that would be a direct account with Altos Research. So this is a nice resource that you don't have to pay for, that you would if you want to have your branding.
Absolutely. And if you guys stay on the call, I am going to go over 7 ways you can incorporate this where it's a little bit more of your branding and you as an agent. So stick around for that. And Sean had a question. I have a report coming to me weekly for Peoria. How do I make sure I have access to run more reports, or how do I sign up?
So just, yeah, that's more your question. So,
yep. So Sean, you have access for the report that you're already getting in there. In the email, there's a small tab where you can add an additional either city, zip code specific, or county, or reach out to your Rock Title account executive or myself, and I can set that up for you as well. Good questions.
yeah.
What is the link for us to get this company from Rock? So how you would sign up, guys, is if you're not currently on getting these reports, reach out to your Rock Title account executive. If you do not know who your Rock Title account executive, I would love to introduce you to them. So please email me, justin.taylor@rocktitle.com, or put your email in the chat box. I'll make sure to connect you to your Rock Title account exec. But that is how you would get signed up through them. Again, it's something sponsored by Rock Title. I would save the cost and really utilize this into your business. Perfect. Any other questions for Jessica? Jessica, every time we go through this, I know there's agents that have been on here from previous ones, always learn something new. It's a lot of information, but such an amazing tool to be able to incorporate into your business. And I agree with you on, being able to back up your position with data is absolutely critical. And honestly, just makes it a lot easier for you. You're a lot more confident in a stronger position to win those clients, whether buyer or seller.
Yeah, sure.
Any other questions for Jessica before I jump on in?
All right. Well, thank you so
Cool.
much for having me. I'm going to jump off, and Justin, I'm going to zip you off an email after this. And
Yep.
if any questions come up that you need help with after I'm gone, feel free to email me. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Yes, it was great. Thank you. Take care, guys.
All right, guys. So the second part of this, I promised 7 ways that you can incorporate this into your marketing and to kind of answer some of those questions on branding and things like that. Right, she went over the data, how to read it, how to convey this message to your client. Now the fun creative process of how to communicate that in the sense of marketing. So I do want to say, if you have not been to rocktitle.com recently, please go there. You can always see our several locations across Arizona and Nevada. And we are growing nationally. But if you haven't been to rocktitle.com recently, check it out. It kind of got I don't know, I'll call it a facelift, but it looks pretty amazing. I'm super excited about it. We're going to jump right into here. So social media, of course, is number 1. Jessica did talk about this a little bit, and I wanted to show you guys actual examples that I put together. Okay, so you can leverage the visuals of these charts across your social media platforms. You can take screenshots. All right, so when you get these reports, you can take screenshots of these and share them with a quick recap. Or I put here, or better yet, be brave and choose number 7. So you just start thinking about maybe what number 7 is. It's something we all hate. But you can take screenshots of these, share them in here. I took this exact verbiage from the market recap that is given in the Altos. So this week's the median price for Maricopa County AZ is 597, with the market action index hovering around 100, which is insane. Okay. And then another sentence on that is this is an increase over last month's market action index of 91. Inventory has held steady at or around 26.25. Okay, you can kind of break it up with some of these emojis, make it look pretty. If it's going on your Facebook business page, it's all branded to you. They get all the data here. They can kind of see that there. And of course, always a call to action to call you to see what your home could sell for in today's market. All right, use these LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, of course, all the different platforms absolutely utilize this. Number 2, email campaigns. Again, so we're taking the data and content that is provided in these reports. They're sent to you weekly. We're taking snippets. We're taking the action index indicator here. Here we've got the real-time profile. All right, I put this example together in MailChimp. So create a market update feature section in your email campaigns. You can use your CRM that you already have, or there's easy to use platforms like MailChimp and Constant Contact that already have templates and things like that. And you just take screenshots of these, take the content and verbiage that's already provided. If you're already sending emails, newsletters out, you can incorporate these in there as well. All right, I'm gonna check the chat box real quick just to make sure I'm not missing. Okay, just some more emails, cool. Awesome. You can take screenshots, verbiage from these reports and create a narrative that is informative and valuable. Remember what she was saying, the data that's provided here is so useful, but the way that they've done it visually allows, it's just, consumers love this. All right, number 3, open house. She mentioned this as well. I made this mock-up in Canva. If you want this template to where you take a screenshot, you just drag and drop them into here where I've already placed them, shoot me an email. You have to have a Canva account. I will be happy to share that template with you. Okay, you just swap out the information, make sure your brokerage logo, all that stuff is on there, but this has already been placed up in here. So it could be on one side of your open house flyer. Maybe the other side is information about the home, photos, all that stuff. And then the backside could be a market update for that zip code. Okay. Again, taking the information that's provided and making it useful and valuable to who you're meeting. Again, I'll be happy to share this with you. You just got shoot me an email, justin.taylor@rocktitle.com. Number 4, listing appointments. She mentioned this as well. So you can pull the full reports, what she was saying, 6 pages from Altos platform that you can print and include in your listing packet or save for a digital presentation. Consumers love to see easy to read data and visual charts. Plus, you will have a stronger understanding of that specific market based on data. Again, you are being backed up by data. So this is just an example of the single page PDF, but you can print the 6 pages. If you reach out to your account executive when you get a new listing, they're going to congratulate you, but also we can pull a property profile for you, which would include this, and then also a bunch of other information about the home, and we can email that over to you for you to have as well. Something else that you can leave behind for your listing appointment that would be extremely valuable and just positions you in a stronger way. Number 5, website widgets. So we didn't really dive into this, but you can embed these into your website. Now, it's technical. It's technical. I know there's some people that aren't tech savvy. I feel like some days it's passing me, which is makes me a little nervous. But you can display these on a website. This is on a live website. This was a screenshot I took. These update automatically. If this is something you'd be interested in, reach out to me. I'll be happy to kind of step you through that and give you the breakdown of how you can get that done. Again, you can email me if that's something you're interested in, but These can be embedded on websites and are updated automatically and give your visitors accurate real-time market data. All right. Super cool feature. Number 6, direct mailers. She mentioned this as well. So you can put these on postcards or flyers that you're mailing out. Again, this is all verbiage and screenshots that I've taken from these reports. Okay. Again, it's just this week, the median list price for Maricopa County, the $5.97. You can put that verbiage in there, all branded to you. Very useful info. They give you a call, they want to talk about it. But you can use the data and visuals in your direct mailers, whether you're farming or to your database of contacts. And you can include a market snapshot. Canva is a great place to go for mailers if you want that. Core Fact is a great website that you can go and add this information in as well. All right, we're going to go to number 7, and in the chat box, can we, before I jump in there, I want to respect everyone's time, but what do you think it is? Brianna thinks it's video, Sean thinks video. Did I give it away? It's definitely video. 100%. For, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now, I have been begging realtors to be more involved in video. Did you know YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine in the world? Google's first. Google owns YouTube. So I put Brad McCollum here. He's an agent out of Calgary. He has about 27,000 subscribers, and he creates videos about, you know, they look like they're nice, fancy homes, things like that, but he does market updates and all that good stuff. So if you want to check him out to get some ideas, you can. But I highly recommend that you can take this data. You can even have it maybe pulled up on a TV behind you. Have a, you know, Amazon is great to have a little tripod ordered. You do it. You don't have to have a fancy camera. These are $1,200 phones. They're beautiful 4K. You could do it right on your phone. Get that set up. Maybe it's behind you, or maybe you're sharing a screen. Maybe you're doing a Zoom. Maybe you put together a client market update Zoom call, right? And you invite all your clients in to have a market update and talk about what's happening in the Valley. But I highly recommend you getting comfortable with video and incorporating it into your business. If you take a video, you can include it in your email, your social media. You can have it transcribed. Fiverr is a wonderful website to have video content transcribed. And then now you have a blog for your website. So taking those bits and pieces of different media and putting it everywhere. But please try at least video one time and get it uploaded and out there. All right, I'm gonna go next here. Any questions? Any questions? Let me check the chat box again. I know I ran through those fairly quickly, but I want to respect your guys' time. I know we've got a few minutes left of the hour. I'm already getting emails for the Canva template. I will make sure that you guys get that. I know I had a QR code on the screen earlier. Whoops. Here we go. I'm going to put the link in for next week's training. I'll put that in there while I finish up the next few minutes. So you guys have time to click on that and get registered. Next week's training is going to be on Google Business Profiles. We're going to talk about how they become the #1 source for seller leads. I'm going to step through how to create a Google Business Profile, and then we're going to talk about how to optimize it. Okay. So if you already have a Google Business Profile, you can stay on the call for how to optimize it, get reviews, things like that. If you don't have a Google Business Profile yet, it'll be a great call for you to go through and get it sent and get it set up for you. Perfect. And I'll make sure I have some questions about this recording. This is being recorded, so I just got to edit it a little bit, and then I'll get that sent out to everyone. I'll make sure everyone gets the ebook and all the things that Jessica was talking about. And I'll also resend the invite for next week's training as well. So real quick, so we can keep these trainings going, please consider writing us in your next purchase contract so we can continue providing valuable trainings just like today. Next week, we got Google Business Profile. The week after that, I'm going into Facebook ads and how you can generate seller leads, some creative ways to run those. We have several Rock Title offices across Arizona and Nevada. We're expanding nationally, but to find a location nearest you, you can go to rocktitle.com. If you have not met with a Rock Title account executive yet to talk about how we can help you grow your business and what your goals are, please reach out to them, schedule a meeting. Or if you don't know who that would be, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to connect you. And also when you reach out to your Rock Title account executive, ask them about a special offer for your next listing, okay? We got a little special offer for you. Next time you get your next listing, it would help you in your listing appointment. Sellers love it, so you can ask about that. In addition to our account executive team, we have amazing escrow officers with a ton of experience in both states. So please give us a shot if you haven't already. We would be happy to help you get your deal closed. Awesome, guys. Any other questions before I let you go on this beautiful Thursday? If you're doing an open house this weekend, good luck. Make it intentional. Hopefully you guys can gain another client, another listing. I know it's a tight market out there, so good times. I appreciate you guys joining. Again, I'll make sure that everyone gets that ebook, this recording, and the link for next week's training. And if you need anything in the meantime, please reach out to me. Be happy to help. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Justin.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Justin.
You're awesome.
Of course. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you, Justin. Bye-bye.
Thank you.